Hey guys, so this map right here was created with a little help from my CNC machine. However, the most difficult part of the project was figuring out how to pull in the roadmap data and making that be usable by my CNC CAM software. So I ended up creating two different techniques to make this happen. One uses the vector data from OpenStreetMaps, which is then modified in Adobe Illustrator, which is what I used for this build. And the second method is for those without access to the Adobe software and uses all free open source programs, SnazzyMaps, Gimp, and a PNG to SVG file format converter. This second option gives you less customizability and is a little bit more labor intensive, but it still does the trick. And either of these techniques can be used along with a laser or done by hand, as I showed in the build video. So let's dive right in. First is the technique using Adobe Illustrator. You start on a website called OpenStreetMaps.org, navigate to your desired map location, and then navigate over to the button on the right side of the screen that says Share. This will bring up a menu that you will then use to export the data. Check the box for Set Custom Dimensions, and then select the area on the map that you want to use. Change the format to PDF, and the scale to 50,000, and then click Download. Depending on the size of the map, it might take a little while to collect the data, so just give it a second to load. Navigate to the file's saved location, and right-click and open with Adobe Illustrator. I also created a duplicate file in case I ever want to revert back to the original. If Adobe says something about missing fonts when you open the file, just select Close and close that pop-up window. Now we start the process of cleaning up the map. Start by right-clicking on the map and selecting Ungroup. Press Ctrl, Shift, and A to deselect everything. To make the map easier to work with, I delete all of the text along with the text background and shadows. Select one of these elements, then go to the Select menu, Same Appearance. Then hit Delete to remove all of these elements. Rinse and repeat for all of the extra elements layered on top of your map that you want to get rid of. Create a new layer to dump all the data in that you want to use for your project. First, select an element that you want. I started with the water, and then open the Select menu, Same Appearance. Press Ctrl and X to cut these elements, select your new layer, and then press Ctrl, Shift, and V to paste these elements in place. Repeat the same thing for all of the roads that you want to include in your map. The nice thing about this method is that you can choose how detailed you want to get. You can just include the main roads, or you can include every street on the map. For any of the white roads, select them all and change the stroke color to black so you can see them on the white background. If you want to copy a border like I did with the city of Washington, D.C., be sure to copy that over to your new layer as well. You'll want to change the stroke color to black, adjust the line weight to the desired thickness, and change it to a solid line by deselecting Dashed Line in the Stroke menu. Alternatively, you could also draw your own shape to define the border of your map. Once you're sure that you have everything you need from the original map, you can now delete the original layer to make the file smaller and easier to work with. Press Ctrl and A to select all of your elements, right-click on the border and select Make Clipping Mask. This will hide all of the elements outside of the border of your map. To delete all these strokes instead of making them hidden, press Ctrl and A again to select everything, and in the Transparency window, change the drop-down menu from Normal to Multiply. Then navigate to Object, Flatten Transparency, change the raster to Vector Balance to 100% Vector, and click OK, and that will eliminate anything outside of your map border. And to make your border visible again, select it and adjust the stroke color and line weight. Then click on the border and select Release Clipping Mask and ungroup the strokes too if you need to do that. Now if you are planning to do the work by hand, save and print this file so you have the different colors to reference the different thicknesses of the roads. But for CNC and laser work, you'll want to change all of the stroke colors to black. If you want the water in your final piece to be a different color from the roads like I did, copy all of the water into a new layer. You may also want to clean it up a bit since it includes literally every body of water on your map, and it even included the sedimentation tanks at the water treatment plant on my map. For the CNC, you will also want to adjust any water that touches the border of your map by manually moving the points in to the inner extent of the borderline, or by offsetting the border and using a clipping mask on the water layer. If you're using Easel as your CAM software like me, you're going to want to convert the strokes to paths since Easel doesn't play well with line segments. To do this, select Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. You can now export your file as a SVG and then import that into Easel to cut on your CNC. Because of the amount of detail in these maps, you might find yourself with a massive file size. So to make things a little bit lighter in weight, you can export as a PNG instead, and then convert that into an SVG file that Easel can read like I do in the second method. Then once we have everything pulled into Easel, I set my depth of cut to 1/4 inch, which will set the maximum depth of cut. In this case, it's the rivers. And then I set a 1/4 inch straight bit for my roughing pass and my 60-degree V bit for a finish pass, and then we're ready to carve. The second method uses SnazzyMaps, and while being easier, it is quite more labor intensive and doesn't give you the customizability for which roads you want to include, but it still works perfectly for your CNC or laser operation. So you'll want to navigate to SnazzyMaps.com. You'll need to create an account if you want to create and save your own styles like I did, and also to download these images. There are many predefined styles on SnazzyMaps, but you can create your own by changing the color of all the elements, or you can even access the Jackman style that I created and use it for yourself. So start by selecting your map style and navigate to the location on the map that you are interested in. To determine the level of detail that you want to include, you can zoom in and out on the map. The further you zoom in, the more detail will appear. Now this method is essentially going to export tiles from this map that you can then piece together to use for your cutting file. Navigate to one of the corners where you want your map to cover and then select Download Image. Adjust the dimensions to 1000 by 1000 and a scale factor of 3x. Adjust the location of the map as needed and select Download Image. This will give you a PNG file of the map that was shown on the screen. If your desired map covers a larger area than this, like mine did, you'll want to navigate to the remaining areas of the map and download those images as well until you have all of the tiles to make up your final map. Just make sure that you don't zoom in or out, or you could lose the scale relative to the other tiles that you've already saved. Open all of these image files in Gimp, a free photo editing software. Choose one of the tiles as your main file and increase the canvas size under Image Canvas Size. Make it large enough for your entire map. Now you're going to copy one of the adjacent tiles and paste it into your main map file. In your layer menu, right-click on this pasted layer and select to new layer. This will allow you to move this tile around and align it with the others. Zoom in and use the rows to align one tile with another. Repeat this until all tiles cover the entire desired map area. Now merge all of the layers together by right-clicking on the top layer and selecting Merge Down, and repeat this until you've merged all of the layers together into a single layer. To define the border of the map, you can create your own shape and crop around this, but I'm going to use the border of the map to crop around. Use the Color Select tool and select the red border. Since it's a dashed line, go to Select, Grow, and set it to 10 pixels to create a solid line for your border. Hit Delete to remove this selection, and then clean up the border using the Free Select tool to select all the areas of the map that you want to keep. Once you get all the way around your map, hit Enter to confirm your selection. Navigate to Select Invert to select all the areas that you want to remove outside of the border, and then hit Delete to remove those. You can now clean up the map by manually removing any rows that you don't want to include. You can make the water a different color, but this will be much more labor intensive than the first method. To do this, you'll have to use the Free Select tool and select all of the water and then cut and paste it as its own layer that can be exported separately. Once you are happy with your map, go to File, Export As, and save your map as a PNG file. For easily to be able to read this file, you need to convert it to an SVG file. To do this, I use an online PNG to SVG converter tool, which I'll link in the description. Go to that website and upload your PNG file. Select monochrome from the optional settings and then click Convert File. This will recognize all the black areas as lines for the CNC to cut. Download your file and then import the SVG into easel. Adjust the scale to the size of the map that you want, and then you can start carving. Now this bonus video was made possible by my patrons over on Patreon. So huge shout out for the support for helping me make extra content like this. So there you go. Both of those methods can be used to grab roadmap data for use in your CNC or laser projects, or if you even want to do it by hand if you like that kind of torture. Be sure to check out the full build video of this map of Washington, D.C. to see this method applied to an actual project. I actually ended up scaling up my map into 4 different tiles to be able to make a map larger than what my CNC is capable of handling. So I'll link that build video down below, along with any other websites that you need to make this happen, like OpenStreetMaps, SnazzyMaps, the SVG file converter, or anything else like that. So hopefully this technique helps someone to make a project similar to this, and if you do, post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to see it. Alright, you got a build video to go watch now. You watched it already? You can go watch it again.